The Warriors are the champs once again. They win their 4th title in 8 years, officially making them a dynasty. So I'm going to give you the 5 things we learned during this year's NBA Finals. Hello everyone, welcome back to Into Sports. I'm your host Evan. Before I give you the 5 things we learned during the finals, do me a big favor and click the subscribe button because it would help me out a lot. Anyways, the first thing we learned is that Steph Curry is now, at worst, the 2nd best player in basketball. I can't say whether he's a top 10 player of all time or not because I haven't seen most of those guys, but I do know this. Him and Giannis, those are the 2 best players in the sport right now. The big knock on Steph Curry used to be his defense. In the past, when you compare a guy like Curry to a guy like Giannis or Kawhi, you would take Giannis or Kawhi because offensively it's similar, but defensively, let's say Kawhi is great and Curry was below average. But defensively now, Curry is way better than he used to be. Curry has really become what I would say is a good defensive player. He's taken major strides on that end, and it really showed up in this series. Now, I've talked several times on this channel about the impact Steph Curry has, even if he is not having a great shooting or not having a great scoring game. His gravity and the attention that he requires at all times is huge, and it opens up his teammates. Take a guy like Andrew Wiggins, who was seen as a bust in Minnesota. He plays with Steph Curry, benefits from his gravity, and now he's an NBA champion and was an all-star starter this year. So this NBA season has been the year of Steph Curry. He gets his splash brother back, Klay Thompson. He wins All-Star Game MVP. And now he finally gets his Finals MVP. And to me, him and Giannis are right there at the top of the sport. The second thing we learned from this year's finals is that defense still wins championships. Recently, it's felt like with the 3-point shot, that great defense couldn't stop the great offense and the great shot making that we've seen in the league. But the 2 teams in the finals this year, Celtics and Warriors, were number 1 and number 2 in defensive rating this season. Now, right after the Nets traded for James Harden last year, and I was making my anti-Nets arguments, I pointed out the fact that you have to be a good defensive team to win the title. Generally, top 10. Well, now we can extend this graphic and make it up to date, because we had the Bucks, last year's champions, who were 9th defensively in the regular season, but actually 1st in the postseason. So that 9 number even undersells them. And then the Warriors this year, the number 2 defensive team in the regular season, and the trend continues. Defense still wins championships. Number 3, Jayson Tatum is not a tier 1 player. Now, in the middle of this Celtics playoff run, a lot of people were saying, Jayson Tatum, what do you know? Maybe this is a top 5 player. But in this series, I think we saw the separation between a tier 1 guy like Steph Curry and then a tier 2 guy like Tatum. He was inefficient and ineffective scoring the ball this series, but he did do a good job of playmaking and distributing. 7 assists per game. But the problem is that he also helped out the Warriors get opportunities. He turned the ball over 4 times a game. Both him and Jaylen Brown were just too loose with their handle. And really, the turnovers are a big reason why the Celtics lost this series. Now, Jayson Tatum actually did shoot very well from 3, 46%, but only 43% at the rim and just 32% from 2 in general. That's the worst by any player who took at least 75 shots in the last 60 NBA Finals. So he's a great player with a great future, and he's only going to get better. But if the Celtics had, say, Kawhi Leonard in this series instead of Tatum, I think the result would have been different. The fourth thing we learned during this finals is that super teams are not dead. And that may sound counterintuitive because both the Warriors and the Celtics are known as homegrown teams. They drafted almost all of their key players, so of course a lot of people tried to say that super teams were dead. Well, that's not entirely true. I think everyone would agree that the Warriors probably would not have won this series without Andrew Wiggins. He averaged 18 a game, 9 boards, including some really key putbacks late in games, and his defense on Jayson Tatum was phenomenal. Well, the Warriors only have Andrew Wiggins because they had Kevin Durant. See, when Durant left, the Warriors actually did a sign-in trade with the Nets. They gave the Nets Durant, and they got back D'Angelo Russell in return. Well, after a couple months with D'Angelo Russell, they traded him to Minnesota for Andrew Wiggins. So no KD, no super team means no Andrew Wiggins, and possibly no title for Golden State. So no, even in a year where it seemed like super teams might finally be over, they still had big-time effects on this year's finals. And the final thing is Kevin Durant. We learned absolutely nothing. A lot of people are going to be saying, see, the Warriors don't need Kevin Durant to win the title. But we already knew that. They won the title in 2015, 2 years before he joined the Warriors. So sure, it's the cool, hot takey thing to say that this Warriors championship hurts Durant's legacy, but we already knew that they could do this without him. And when they had him, they were on a totally different level. That Warriors team with Kevin Durant was arguably the greatest team ever. And Durant was absolutely ridiculous in those finals runs. In fact, they got 8.6 points better per 100 possessions in the finals with Kevin Durant versus in the finals without Kevin Durant. That is the same difference between the NBA champion Warriors and my measly Washington Wizards, who even played most of the year without their best player. So yes, the Warriors didn't need Kevin Durant to win the title, but we already knew that. They literally just became unbeatable when they had him.